Welcome back, everyone. Today we're bringing you a brand new explainer, and we are skipping right past the basics. I know you're here to understand the deep structural mechanics of medical device sterilization. So today we're diving straight into exactly how we measure and validate a sterility assurance level, an SAL, of 10 to the minus 6. And we're doing this for two incredibly powerful, yet completely invisible lethal agents: radiation and moist heat. Okay, let's dive right into this. First, we'll look at setting the dose for radiation, then move into dosimetric control. After that, we'll cover moist heat and F0, validating that moist heat, and finally, a framework for selecting the right modality. All right, section 1, dose setting for radiation. Let's get into it. Now, with radiation, the lethal agent isn't some reactive gas or a superhigh temperature. It's actually the physical absorbed dose itself. And to deliver that dose, the industry relies on three main sources. You've got gamma, using cobalt-60, which gives you beautifully deep penetration for those really dense pellets, but it operates at a lower dose rate over a longer time, and since it's a radioactive isotope, it can literally never be switched off. E-beam, on the other hand, is a machine. It's blazing fast. I mean, we're talking seconds here, but its electron penetration is pretty shallow, which definitely limits your product thickness. Then you have X-ray sitting right in the middle, giving you the deep penetration of gamma, but combined with that great switchable machine control of an E-beam. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the evolution of our standards. Take a look at the recent 2025 update to ISO 11371. It's fascinating because it specifically revises the limits on induced radioactivity. By strictly operating within these specified energy thresholds, we can definitively guarantee that medical devices will not become radioactive. It's a tightly controlled parameter that entirely puts that specific fear to rest once and for all. But here's the thing. No matter which radiation source you use, absolutely everything we do in validation is calculated to hit this exact number, an SAL of 10 to the minus 6. That means a 1 in a million probability of a single viable microorganism remaining. Every single step of dose setting is engineered around hitting this precise target. And to get there, you have to establish your sterilization dose. One of the absolute most efficient ways to do this is by using the VDmax method. Let's translate this into plain English, right? Instead of doing incredibly complex, unique math from scratch to calculate a custom dose for your device, VDmax allows you to assume a really conservative bioburden ceiling. Based on that assumption, you substantiate a standard pre-selected dose, which is most commonly 25 kilograms. But of course, you can't just guess and hope for the best. You have to physically prove it. You run a verification dose experiment. You take sample items, irradiate them at a specific, much lower verification dose, then you test them for sterility, count any positives, and ultimately accept or reject the substantiation. It's this physical experiment that confirms if our theoretical assumption about the product's bioburden resistance actually holds up in the real world. Once that's all established, you are forced to operate within what we call the dose window, and it is a very delicate balancing act. Look at the left side. If any part of your product drops below that minimum dose, it simply isn't sterile. You failed to hit your 10 to the minus 6. But on the right, if you exceed the maximum dose, well, your polymers might embrittle, crosslink, or discolor. You're left with a perfectly sterile product that is functionally ruined. So you must stay inside that window. Let's move on to section 2, dosimetric control and routine release. So we know our required dose window, but how do we actually prove it was delivered correctly during everyday routine production? Well, because radiation lethality correlates directly and flawlessly with absorbed physical dose, we can measure those invisible rays directly. We use dosimeters. And because we have absolute, total trust in this physical measurement, routine release is purely dosimetric. You never, ever use biological indicators to release a routine radiation load. I mean, think about it. We don't need to see the biology die if we can just directly measure the physical agent that kills it. Let's see how this builds in practice. During performance qualification, or PQ, we map out the actual loaded product. We place dosimeters everywhere to find the exact hot and cold spots in that specific density configuration. Once PQ finds those extremes, it dictates exactly where we must place our dosimeters for every future routine batch. That's how we ensure the entire pallet stayed safely within that crucial dose window. All right, shifting gears entirely. Section 3, moist heat and F0, looking at saturated steam. Now, unlike radiation, moist heat doesn't rely on photons or electrons to do the job. Its lethality relies entirely on saturated steam transferring latent heat directly to the microorganisms. When we talk about moist heat, we are essentially anchoring everything to this stark number right here, 121 degrees Celsius. This is the foundational baseline temperature for all most heat lethality calculations. Which brings us perfectly to F0. Let's put this in plain English too. F0 takes your entire fluctuating temperature time profile from your cycle and mathematically integrates it into one single lethality number. It essentially expresses all of that variable heat as an equivalent time spent exactly at 121 degrees Celsius. And because microbial death accelerates exponentially with heat, any temperatures above 121 contribute massively to your F0 score. But, all that math is completely useless if the steam can't actually reach the product. We basically have two main cycle types to make sure the air gets out of the way. Gravity displacement relies on the steam physically pushing the heavier air down and out. It's simple, but it's slow. Pre-vacuum cycles, though, use dynamic vacuums to aggressively pull the air out first. This is absolutely vital for devices that have lumens or porous loads because trapped air acts like an insulator. You need dry, saturated steam with zero air pockets for proper heat transfer to happen. Which leads us to Section 4, validating these moist heat cycles. So how exactly do we validate this process? Well, the crucial point here is really understanding the difference between your qualifications. OQ, or operational qualification, maps out the empty chamber to find where the machine itself is the coldest. But PQ, performance qualification, maps heat penetration deep inside your actual loaded product. PQ is where you prove, without a doubt, that your target F0 is successfully delivered to the load's absolute slowest to heat point. And here's a big difference. Unlike radiation, we actually do use biology in moist heat validation. Because steam penetration can be incredibly tricky, during PQ we place highly heat-resistant spores, specifically Geobacillus thermophilus, right next to our temperature probes. This quantitatively confirms that the F0 we calculated physically actually resulted in the biological kill that we require. Okay, final section. Section 5, selecting a modality. Let's put these two tools to the test with a quick case study. Imagine our fictional manufacturer, Meridian Medical, needs to establish a secondary sterilization pathway for their flagship device, the NeoCath SC02. So here is a bit of a logic puzzle for you to solve based on what we just learned. Which method actually suits the NeoCath SC02? Are we going with radiation or moist heat? And this brilliantly illustrates the golden rule of sterilization. You have to match the physics of the lethal agent to the chemistry of your device. Moist heat is absolutely perfect for heat-stable penetrable items, but it ruins anything sensitive. Radiation easily penetrates really dense materials, but it will degrade certain polymers over time. For the NeoCath? Well, the answer becomes obvious pretty fast. The device immediately fails the moist heat pathway. Saturated steam at 121 degrees would simply melt and distort the heat-sensitive polymer catheter. It's a non-starter. However, material screening confirms that the NeoCath's polymers and adhesives remain completely stable even when tested at the maximum radiation dose. Therefore, radiation is accepted as the clear, validated pathway for this product. But before we wrap up today, I really need to hammer home Rule 2, which our source material makes abundantly clear, quote, sterility testing cannot validate a process. Taking a finished product and dropping a small, destructive sample into a growth broth absolutely cannot prove a 1 in a million SAL. It just can't. Only validated, tightly controlled dosimetric evidence or rigorously mapped F0 data can actually give you that assurance. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. Choosing between reading dosimeters and calculating F0 isn't just a matter of preference. It ultimately comes down to the deep material reality of your product. Your sterility relies entirely on your modality. Are you absolutely certain you're measuring the right invisible lethal agent for your specific device? Think deeply about your polymers, your bioburden, and your packaging. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.